Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, we are back again with another episode of the Saturday Sermon College Football Show. I don't know if we need to say a prayer because college football is really back this week, but man,
No
I mean, we
preseason
can,
now, brother.
oh, it's
No
not
preseason
preseason. It's
now.
not preseason. And I'll tell you what, some of these games this week on week 0, man, they look like preseason football. But we'll get into those here in a little bit. First and foremost, Nick, what'd you do this weekend for week 0?
You guessed it, brother. I watched some football.
Nice.
Brooke was sleeping, and I had that TV down just a bit because Penn State wasn't playing, so I could afford to be in the living room because I'm not going to be yelling or cussing or anything like that.
Yeah.
I did slip up one time. I can't remember what I think it was a fumble or something, and I jumped. I yelled shit or something, just little loud, and I was like, oh man, this isn't even my team, so I know if she's sleeping on, because she's working the nights, I'm gonna have to leave the house to watch some of these games.
Yeah, man. I I had a little bit of a different week 0. Not what I expected. You know, the best part about my house and the way it's set up in the garage and everything, I have 6 TVs. I actually have a 7th TV out here. I got a projector. I got everything all set up, ready to go for these college football game days. And Friday afternoon, I got a pretty difficult phone call that I had to handle and I had to deal with. And I don't mean to bring this down a little at all, or take this down a couple pegs or anything like that, and kind of make it somber. But my dad had a situation where he almost passed away, honestly, on Friday, and he's in good care right now at Anderson Hospital and all of that. And I've spent a lot of time since Friday coming back and forth and back and forth. I mean, that hour and 45-minute drive multiple days in a row has taken a lot out of me, and plus I have to start traveling for work here soon. And I've tried to spend as much time as possible with my dad. So Saturday I actually drove down to watch some college football with my dad in the ICU, which is insane to think about. Didn't expect to spend week 0 in the ICU looking over some wires to watch the game because that's how the chairs were set up. But that's kind of how it was. I'll tell you what, man. My dad means the world to me, and I want to publicly put this out there. My dad means so much to me. He's my hero. He's been my hero my whole life. He's been someone that I've looked up to. I mean, I got into coaching because my dad's been a lifelong coach, and to spend a special day, what we called on Saturday the church for college, or excuse me, the Christmas for college football fans, to spend Christmas Day with my dad meant so much to me. It was crazy. They were giving him some really bad news about his leg when that final field goal was kicked in the Georgia Tech Florida State game, and he looked up and said, "Damn it, Joe Bob." I said, "What, Dad?" He goes, "I missed a hell of a fucking football game, didn't I?" And I try to keep the cussing to a minimum on this, but I mean, just having that moment with my
Listen,
dad.
when you're talking about Big Joe, there's not much to not much censoring
Yes,
happens.
so he's doing much better today. He had a surgery today. He actually had an amputation done on his leg today, and it's been pretty tough on all of us. It's been pretty stressful on all of us, and I'm just very happy that I got to watch some college football with my dad because you never know what was going to come out of this week. And very happy that he's in recovery. He's doing well. Hopefully he's back on the lanes for coaching this October. If anybody knows
He'll
my
find a
dad,
way, man.
yeah,
There's no way he doesn't.
if anybody knows my dad, he's a damn good high school bowling coach, and if you know anything about my dad, he's not going to miss the season. So, I just want to say, happy recovery to my dad, speedy recovery to my dad, and everybody. We're feeling your prayers, we're feeling your support. But week 0, man, it was incredible watching it with my dad, even though the situation wasn't the best. The best part about it, though, was driving home. I got to watch this Montana State-New Mexico game on the way home. And I'm watching it on a little phone screen propped up on my dashboard in my car. And I'm just like, man, what in the hell am I watching right now? Why is...
You ca-
What?
you called me and you said, "I'm gonna get in a wreck." I
Yeah,
said, I said, "You're watching the game on your phone and it's in your dashboard, aren't you?" And you're like, "Yep." And I'm like, "Been there,
man.
done that, brother."
Man, but being a big fan of college football and praising college football as much as I do here on the Saturday sermon, I had to watch the game, couldn't miss a game. Got home, got comfortable, got cozy. There was a couple games on when I finally got home. SMU was playing Nevada, SEMO was on TV, the HBCU game was on TV. There was a lot of fun football on. A lot of the games were fun, a lot of the games were close, minus that SEMO game. I think that was kind of a blowout. But the last game, of the night that I watched, I stayed up late, got the projector all hooked up, went through about 40 different streaming services to finally find the Hawaii versus Delaware State game, which actually wasn't as big as a blowout as we thought. But man, Nick, is there
Nothing
any,
was. There was not. I believe every team, every underdog covered
which is
this
crazy to
week
think about,
of like the F F FBS, any FBS games, including the FCS teams, every underdog covered.
which
And
is
if
insane.
that's an indication of what we're gonna get in week one, that's crazy.
I agree. I agree. But Nick, man, let's get into a recap of week 0. Is there anything else you want to cover before we jump into it?
No, sir. Let's get right into it.
All right, perfect. So week 0 kicked off with Florida State versus Georgia Tech. Final score 24-21 Georgia Tech. I don't know what the hell happened to Florida State. Are they still hung over from getting, bumped out of the playoffs last year? Are they still hung over from that embarrassing loss to Georgia during bowl season? I'm so lost to what happened. I know there was a lot of moving pieces, and there was a pretty key transfer that they lost on the offensive line with Bless Harris. I don't know what happened. I don't know why DJU looked as bad as he looked. I mean, 19 for 27, 193 yards, and I don't think he completed a big air yard at all that whole game. I mean, did he have any big bombs the whole game?
No, what did it say? Like the net, God, I can't remember the stat, but
Wasn't it like -1 or something like that, or
negative
negative
point
point
one
one?
or something crazy. Yeah, yeah. Listen, dude, we can run it back. I know I did pick Florida State because I was too afraid to actually put it out there and pick Georgia Tech. But what did I tell you? I said I'm not big on DJU. I haven't been. They
Yeah,
got a lot of new people in, whereas Georgia Tech had, essentially most of the same roster. And I mean, you see what happened. Just false prophets. I wasn't big on them from the jump.
yeah,
Now, granted, you got a lot of season left, and the best part about this 12 team is this loss really doesn't define their destiny.
not at
You know what I
all.
mean? They could easily fix some things up. I think Norvell's a good coach. I don't necessarily. I mean, I didn't pick them from the jump, and this kind of helps confirm that for me. But it's week 0. It was a
Yeah,
week 0 game in
yeah.
Ireland. Now, what I want to know is, do you think Florida State is just not good? Do you think Georgia Tech is good and could contend? Or do you think this is just an anomaly, week 0 game across the pond?
Well, one thing we know is that Georgia Tech can run the ball, and I don't think that
They bullied
they
that
bullied.
defensive
They
line.
they
That
bullied,
was
and the thing about it is,
that was bolstered. That was dropping
yeah,
my pen. They were talked about like they were going to be some studs, and they got punished for
yeah,
4 quarters.
they did, and I think Georgia Tech. I mean, they looked good on defense, and that was the big question mark coming into this season. Is yeah, they can play, they can run the ball, but can they play defense? And they didn't look bad on defense. They made a bunch of really good stops. They made a bunch of really good plays. I mean, if you take that first drive for both
That
teams
was
out of the
it.
game, I think Georgia Tech still wins the game. I mean, that the first drive for both teams. I mean, there were 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, they went
Yeah,
back to back on scores, but Georgia Tech got there quicker than Florida State.
yeah,
And again, that was what we said. The question mark was, did Georgia Tech's defense get better? And I think they got more than better, man.
yeah,
Again, maybe Florida State's just not what we think, but I remember it was early on in those games after that first series, they were putting pressure on DJ. There was that first one, he got the sack, but he grabbed the mask, and I'm like, listen,
they
that
got
sucks. That led to a field goal,
they
but
got bailed out on that. I didn't. It was barely a face mask. That was not a bad, egregious face mask at all. It's still fingers in the face
no.
mask. That
It was
happens,
enough to
but
give the call, but I mean,
yeah,
if I'm Georgia Tech, I mean, as I was sitting on the couch, I'm sitting there thinking, I mean, this one didn't work out for them, but they're getting pressure, and this is a great sign because that was the early thing. Like, can
yeah,
their defense generate some pressure? Because they didn't last year. They didn't at all, and they 110% did that. And I mean, I loved watching that game because they play my style of football. They just were nasty on defense, and they were just a grind on offense, and they wore that defense out.
Let's talk about that middle linebacker, that linebacker that
Oh
Georgia
my
Tech had.
God.
He looked like all of our created linebacker that we've ever created in Madden or NCAA, the older NCAA games, not college football, NCAA 14, with that big, ugly, obnoxious cowboy collar
Got
on.
the
It just
cowboy collar.
he looked like he looked like he was the Hunchback of Notre Dame or something like that. Like that was the literally if you could paint up what a middle linebacker could look like or a linebacker in general could look like
From
that from
1999.
1999 to taped fingers, the whole yeah that was beautiful. I don't know if he did that as a troll job or what, but that was
No, dude, I think that's I mean, he played like one of those guys
he did.
would. That dude had a motor.
He did, and
That
I'll tell you what's crazy. Coming out of that game, more people I think are talking about that linebacker than they are how bad Florida State's running backs underperformed. In a team that likes to run the ball, Florida State's running backs didn't have any momentum going. I mean, the first string and the second string running back, the transfer from Alabama is who I had when I was really high on last week. Yeah, I'm like, ugh, gosh, it was disgusting. None of their offense was working, and it just tells you how good Georgia Tech played.
that or if I'm a Florida State fan right now, it's premature, but I'm still hitting the panic button a little bit because there are some clear red flags. Because if those boys can't run the football and you're relying on DJU to be a gunslinger, you're not going to be a good offense.
You got some issues. Speaking of running the ball though, Georgia Tech's Jamal Haynes. I mean, 11 touches, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. What a beautiful performance. I think this was kind of an anomaly. I think this was kind of an outlier game. I think this was getting the first game jitters out of the bag for Florida State. I still think they have a perfect chance to make it to the ACC championship game. Just being honest with you, I think Miami's got their hands full this weekend, as does Clemson. There's a good chance that
I
you could
agree with
see.
you.
There's a good chance that you could see teams that we had and that a lot of people have winning the ACC all having one loss coming out of this weekend. I mean, Clemson having Georgia and Miami having freaking Florida. And I mean, Florida isn't anything to write home, but it is a rivalry game, and I believe it's in Florida, right?
It is in the swamp. And to be
So,
honest with you, man, I'm not. I know they get a lot of shit. I'm not totally gonna sit here and discount Florida as a team that could potentially be right there. They're not competing for an SEC,
no.
but they can beat they can beat a Miami football team. And to be honest with you, um, I mean, think of the situation we just talked about last week. You have DJU, brand new quarterback in a system. What do you got in Miami?
You got Cam.
And what do you get in
Excuse
Cam?
me. Cameron. I think he's going by Cameron now.
What do
But
you what and what do you get out of
it's
Cameron?
same situation. Same situation. I
He
mean,
he's the same.
different
He
off season. I mean, if you remember all the controversy and stuff this off season with him, it's I mean, it's the same deal. It's a new quarterback who, is coming into a system and they're expecting him to take this program to the next level. But I mean, if you look at what he did before, I mean, he was okay at Washington State, but I mean, he's not.
flashes just like DJU.
Yes, yes.
Flashes.
But let's not dive it too deep into that game. But I do still think there's
No.
a clear path for Florida State to win the ACC championship. It's going to take a little bit of work, and it's not going to be a shoe-in like they thought it was going to be. Next game of the week: Montana State versus New Mexico. 35-31 Montana State. I'll tell you what. I don't care what anybody says. This was the toilet bowl game of the week. It was such a bad game that it was fun to watch. I mean, you had Montana State, you had New Mexico, you had actually really fun football on the field, even though there should have been a huge discrepancy between, New Mexico and Montana State. But, man, the Mountain West, that is a conference right now that I used the word discrepancy a second ago, but the discrepancy between the top tier teams and the bottom of the barrel teams is just night and day difference. I mean, Boise State's going to come in. Boise State's going to play really awesome this year. Fresno State's going to play pretty good this year. But honestly, you look down the poll, like, there are not a lot of good teams in the Mountain West this year, and it's kind of a shame. Mountain West used to be fun football to watch.
You know, I go back and forth with some of these G5 teams as to, what helps them get in. You have Liberty who plays an awful schedule.
Yeah.
They're probably going to go undefeated. Is that more valuable than a team, say, Boise? What do they got? They got Oregon. They got a couple
They
decent
got a couple tough games this year, yeah.
opponents. S- You know, I think those may work in their favor, especially given the fact that there are so many other weak teams in that Mountain West Conference. Um, but yeah, I mean, I definitely get what you're saying there. It was granted, Montana State is like sixth in the FCS rankings, but to see an FCS team as the Vegas favorite against an FBS team is crazy. But to
I
see it
agree.
by multiple scores is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And I think one of the guys on commentary, he said it best at the end of the game. He said they just don't know how to win. And you know as well as I know, playing football for some not great teams, um, that's a real thing in football, man.
Yeah.
It's like this energy. It's like all right, we have a lead. Like let's sit and pray and hope hope things go well. And then the other teams like Montana State, who clearly knows how to win at at the FCS level, nevertheless, they take advantage of mistakes. I mean, how many times that game should have been over and there was just they were giving it to them. I mean, not converting, dropped passes. I think they dropped two crucial plays that would have ended up in first downs,
They had that missed field goal as well. That,
missed field goal, and
like,
then letting up a 95-yard rushing
yes,
touchdown.
it was 93 yards, man. I was going to get into that, man. The Montana State running backs, their run game this week was superb. I mean, they had 307 total yards between their top two backs, and they had that 93-yard gash by Adam Jones. I mean, it was fun. It was a fun, entertaining game between two teams that we shouldn't have been hyped up to watch. That, God, I found myself literally almost pulling over at one point in time watching the game when I was driving back. So that was an awesome game. In the worst way possible, it was an awesome game. But the fact that, Boise State blew, was it a 31-14 lead going into the fourth quarter or something like that?
Boise State,
Or did I say Boise State? I meant New Mexico. New Mexico
yeah,
blew a 31-14 lead going into the fourth
yeah.
quarter, and I think Montana State put up 21 in the fourth quarter or something.
I mean, yeah, they would have had to because they drove it downfield, scored either way. Hey, I'll take it for a week zero football game though.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, all things considered, there was some fun football for week zero, and that's typically not the case. So,
yeah, man.
hey, I'll hats off. I'm happy that we had some good games, but it's still just it's not game day. It's
No,
not the same feel. Um,
it's a teaser.
you're right.
The next
But
game
hey,
was
we're here.
the next game that was one of the big four that was on this week was that SMU Nevada game. SMU managed to pull it out at the end of the game, 29-24. It was surprisingly an incredible game to watch. Another fun game to watch. But hell, Nevada has heart, man. They played. I mean, what was they had a huge. The money line was huge in SMU's favor, and Nevada literally was giving it to them until the
25, I
very end of the
think.
game. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was insane. And one of the things I think as Nevada lost the game in the fourth quarter, very late, which is evident. I mean, that's how the final drive ended up, or the final score of the game ended up. But my big question coming out of the SMU Nevada game is who's going to be their quarterback one moving forward. I mean, they kept mentioning it on the broadcast that both Preston Stone and Kevin Jennings are both team captains this year. They both got playing time in the game. I mean, Stone was 17 for 30, 254 yards, one touchdown, one interception. I mean, that's not really anything to write home about. It's not terrible stats, but it's not incredible
But
stats
you're
going to
also
be their stats.
playing
You're
Nevada,
also playing
who
Nevada, yeah. And then Jennings
I,
came in and was 4 for 5 for 54 yards. And Stone's also coming off of an injury from last season as well, where Jennings had some playing time. So honestly, moving forward, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a quarterback battle at SMU.
that's a that's another tough situation out there in Dallas. Like it feels like SMU coming into the ACC, it's like the little guy who's got something to prove. I think they have some talent, I really do, but it's like if you're going to enter this conference, you got to come correct. Even if you end up with a losing record in the ACC, no big deal, but man, you cannot play if you're leaving G5 football onto greener pastures. You cannot almost go lay an egg down multiple scores against Nevada. I mean, this isn't Boise State or, you know, Liberty or Memphis that they did that to. This is Nevada.
I agree. Next big game to talk about is Hawaii versus Delaware State. Man, I am one of those weird people that stayed up to watch this game. I know I was posting some stuff on IG, on our IG page, and all that good stuff. But man, not as big as a blowout as what everyone thought. I mean, Vegas thought it would be there'd be much more done on the Hawaii by the end by Hawaii. But man, the final score was 35-14 Hawaii. It was a very quiet second and third quarter for Hawaii. Um, I mean, honestly, there's not much to talk about except for it was a pain in the ass to find a station to watch this game on.
I'll be honest with you, I was drinking some whiskey and texting you, and you were keeping me updated on it. That's what I got out of that game.
Well, the last game I'm going to mention, and this is just an honorable mention for the week. I actually really enjoyed that Florida A&M versus Norfolk State game. I mean, 24-23, Florida A&M. That was a incredible game to watch. That was so much fun to watch. But honestly, it was the best halftime show I've seen in quite a while. Am I am I nuts or am I going crazy to think that Florida A&M they are pretty much showing how bad Drake is down right now, especially with that "Not Like Us" halftime show. So, I mean, you have HBCU bands playing this song now. Come on, Drake, apologize. Let's shake hands with Kendrick. Let's get all this crap over with, because man, you're down
They're
bad.
sending that boy back to Degrassi form.
He's Drake is going to end up back on TV. He's probably going to go into hiding for a while after that. I mean, what a beautiful performance, a beautiful halftime show. But I will say, leading into that game, we talk about players of the week, Nick. We have our player of the week pick, and one of the guys I want to mention is FAMU's quarterback Daniel Richardson. Man, the guy went 23 for 30, 286 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. The guy was electric. The guy made clutch plays when it mattered the most. I mean, his pass completion and incompletion ratio was incredible. It was insane. I mean, he played his tail off. That was great football to really watch this week. And, do you have any people in mind for player of the week?
Yeah, I mean, I I went to the big game, the upset. Um, Jamal Haynes. You could probably give it to that Georgia Tech front because they just bullied that Florida defensive line that was supposed to be, you know, all hyped up. But I mean, we mentioned it. Jamal Haynes, 11 rushes, 75 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and he just grinded the whole way down the field. That last series as well. It's actually the Haynes connection with the quarterback and running back. I mean, he was quarterback was up there too because I mean, same thing. He ran his ass off. Those
Yeah.
guys, man, I was very impressed by that offense and what they're able to do to Florida State's front. So I'm gonna have to give it to Jamal Haynes.
So I do have Daniel Richardson on there from FAMU, but I also have two other guys that I just want to give an honorable mention to that I don't know, they could be your 1B and your 1C, but Adam Jones from Montana State, 17 carries, 167 yards, 9.8 yards a carry, had a big
Yeah,
gash
that
in the
big one
game,
too.
that 93
Yep,
yard gash, and then
that brought him back.
Scottree Humphrey, which the broadcast couldn't get this man's name right to save their life. They kept calling him Scotty. They called him Scott Trey. Scottree Humphrey, man, 19 carries, 140 yards, 1 touchdown. Those two running backs had a heck of a day. So, 1A, I'd give it to Daniel Richardson. 1B, 1C, I'd give it to Adam Jones and Scottree Humphrey. Um, Great week of football. Do you have anybody else you want to mention that could have been up there as a player of the week?
I don't have a player of the week, but going that back to that same game, I have a coach of the week, and that's Brent Key.
Hell
Look
yeah.
out, dude. Look out. I mean, listen, when's the last time Georgia Tech has been relevant?
Man, it's
And it's
been,
not been easy. I mean,
yeah,
just how how long was it when they were still running the double wing?
the double wing, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
disgusting.
Well, I mean, they stopped running it, what, in 16, 15 or 16? They went a little bit more spread, and maybe a little bit later than that. I might be a little bit early. But, yeah, man, it's wild to think about. I mean, they're really keeping up with the time, or catching up with the times now, and they played awesome ball this weekend. If that's any indication on how good Georgia Tech's going to be this year, watch out. We might have a new Coach of the Year candidate.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. But last thing about him, perhaps outside of his coaching, the quote of the week. No, we don't have a quote of the week, but run the ball. You saw that?
I did. I
I had
did.
to run it back. I had to run it back. I'm not gonna.
But yeah, I mean, if we would get into play of the week, though, I would say, you got quote of the weekend. I'm going to say play of the week was that Statue of Liberty that Florida State ran on the was it? Or no, this was
Oh, it was a
Statue.
swinging gate.
The
It was a
swinging gate.
was
That's
it
right. The
swinging
swinging
gate.
gate. It was the
Open up to
swinging gate.
2 point
Yep, that's right.
conversion.
That's
Yeah,
right. Not Statue of Liberty. They ran the swinging gate on that 2 point conversion on that opening drive. I mean, I
that was
thought they
pretty
were going to
dope.
try to make a statement there, and they did make a statement, but then it quickly backfired. So, but going into week one, man, week zero is over. It was a great week. It was a great teaser getting into college football. But we're going to talk over some of the top 25 games that are, going to be happening this week, and we're going to sprinkle in a couple other ones that are decent matchups that aren't top 25 games. But starting with the top,
Wait. You know what? Before we even jump into that, there's a couple little newsworthy pieces that I thought were kind of interesting
Okay.
coming out of this week. First and foremost, Mr. Connor Stallions. The Netflix documentary just dropped. I'm actually going to try to watch that after we're done with this tonight.
Yeah,
Did you see he's a high school defensive coordinator?
I did see that. It's like what a crazy fall from grace. I mean, you were quote unquote the right hand man at Michigan, and you were the guy that was making Michigan quote unquote happen to some people. I don't agree with that, but I can understand sign stealing, whatever. But I think even did Portnoy go bad on him in the documentary as well? Did I
He
hear
did,
that?
and that's that. Now, granted, I don't. You know how I feel. I don't know why Dave is a reputable voice in the college football world,
He's
but
he's a Michigan guy. He's a sports guy. He's a Michigan football guy. He's going to give a hot take. It kind of seemed the clips I seen kind of seemed like it was he made it up, just joking around, like he was just being sarcastic. Because if you know anything about Dave and you know his sarcasm, he does do a lot of things to create headlines and to make jokes and stuff like that. I think they clipped it. I think there was probably more to that statement that they didn't put in the documentary. I think they clipped what he said in sarcasm.
listen,
And
if
they
they,
went
if
ahead
they
and
did
ran with
that,
it.
you would if they did that, you would already heard it out of Dave
Well,
Portnoy's
Barstool's
mouth.
running with it. Barstool's, I think, Facebook or Instagram page, probably both of
Was
them.
that Ohio State?
I can't remember who it was. I just saw it on regular Barstool's page, but it was
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
literally Dave Portnoy's quote and his hands up in the air like this, and I'm like, come on, man, that's hilarious.
But the most ironic part of this all is Connor Stallions went to go coach at the highest level that still utilizes signs.
Is he gonna be cheating at the high school level, Nick? You can the
I'm
thing about high school
I'm
is
just saying it's a
in
possibility.
certain states, the technology on the sidelines is a little bit more advanced than what college football was in the past couple of years. I think some high schools are allowed to have like tablets and all that stuff on the sidelines.
Oh
So,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, sign stealing, sign stealing. If you can see it from the field, if you can see it from film, put it in your back pocket, keep it, use it.
Jesus, dude.
But
He's gonna be holding chains at the rivals game for the chain
with the
crew.
with the with the Ray-Ban recording sunglasses on,
Yeah, yeah, the little fake mustache. Yeah,
he
no,
looked
that
like
guy's.
honestly, he looked like Edward Norton in disguise
And
on
then
the CMU sidelines.
apparently he's like still denying any wrongdoing. It's like, brother, they got you plain as day on camera with your little Ray-Ban glasses and CMU gear. Anyways, next
Doesn't he?
piece.
Didn't he got to look like Edward Norton though, in that little like Edward Norton in disguise?
Yeah,
So
yeah, that
next
dude.
next piece though.
The Colorado Buffaloes,
Are
everybody's
you gonna?
favorite topic.
What?
They went to the Pac-12 and accused the Oregon Ducks of hacking into their system to get practice film.
Nick, I'm gonna say this, and
What?
I'm a Colorado rider. I'm not a Colorado rider to the end, but I do support Colorado in a bunch of different ways. But I don't agree with this. I'm gonna be honest. I think Oregon could have took the week off and went out and still played that same game.
You ever watch Varsity Blues where they're at the strip club the night before? That could have been the whole Oregon roster, and they still go out and win that game by 30.
I agree.
They could have won that football game by 60 points if they wanted to.
I
and they
Why?
put their foot on the brake.
The thing about it is, why even bring it up now? Why bring it up now? The Pac-12 is no longer a thing. These teams aren't even
Well,
really playing each other anymore. It's just, it's stupid to bring up now. What does it do?
well, no. So I think this was an older. Like, I think this is just getting reported on. I
That's how
don't
the
think they.
NCAA works.
Yeah. So there was an investigation, but the film utilized it. I guess the company that Colorado uses. I can't remember their name.
Was it was it
It's like what
was it
Hub. It's like
was it Catapult by chance?
it was Catapult. Yeah. So
Catapult had a
Catapult.
bunch of stuff get hacked into though. There was a big thing
Well,
about Catapult, and I believe their servers got breached or something random like that. I don't. Sorry, Catapult, don't come after me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like there was something else that happened because I feel like the Michigan claim against Ohio State had something to do with Catapult as well. Which, if you could
well,
look
we
that
all
up on the
know.
fly while you're talking, but I'm pretty sure that when Michigan claimed that Ohio State was stealing signs and a couple other teams were stealing signs, I think Catapult was named in that, and I think that was the big thing. But I could be wrong. Catapult, again, I am sorry if I'm misspeaking, but I feel like that's why I know what Catapult is.
Okay, but even if that's the case, you got to think within context here.
Yeah,
One, in that situation, it's like, all right, we're getting accused, so we're going to point the finger back and try to accuse you.
yeah,
On this side, Oregon could have played backup players the whole game and still won by a couple scores.
just to get back to it, Catapult was named. They're not under investigation by the NCAA back in December because of Alabama. Other teams were claiming that Alabama and Michigan were named, got their footage leaked out and stuff like that. So it sounds like the Michigan's claim was Ohio State had unauthorized access to other teams' film that they played through Catapult. So yeah, so it sounds like it was just a big shit show and all that stuff. But the NCAA found that Catapult had no wrong. They found that they're not going to investigate them and there was no wrongdoing found. So
Well, the point about Catapult in this sense is they did conduct their own
internal,
investigation on it,
yeah,
and they came to the conclusion that no data was hacked into. You didn't need an investigation to know that Oregon didn't do that because they didn't need to.
yeah,
But I there's times that I want to say like Prime puts on this front. I mean, he definitely believes in his stuff, but I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt on some things in a sense that, all right, look, you're going to hold that front, but you probably know deep down, like, we're nowhere near where we need to be.
yeah.
But when this came out, I genuinely think that he thinks that they're way up here. That's called delusion.
That is delusion. That's very delusional. What else do we got?
Anyways, last piece, and you're going to love this
Okay.
because it's all individuals that teams that I'm not particularly fond of. Mr. Lane Kiffin had the nerve to now this is coming from a guy who cannot stand Ohio State, but he has the nerve to repost an article about the amount of money that Ohio State spent in NIL this year. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, who just bolstered their roster and went all out on the NIL funds, calls out Ohio State for spending a lot of money in the NIL.
It's called bitterness over losing your star running back. That's what that is. That
Lane
is
Kiffin's a
him.
dick, bro.
That is him lashing out about losing his star running back, and that's. I mean,
He's no, you know what? He's not even a dick. Like I mean he is, but like he is just he's a loser, bro. I don't know. He's a troll and he wanted that Bama job. I don't know if you did you see the stuff actually with him and Saban?
he was supposed to be the heir apparent to Nick Saban, him or Steve Sarkisian, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think he still gets it eventually. I really do. I think he finishes his career off in Alabama. I think he's gonna win. I think he's gonna
be
win a
some
national
years.
championship. I think he'll win a national championship somewhere before he ends up at Bama. I don't know if this is the team that does it, but this is probably the best chance in the coming years to win a
I
national
hope
title for him.
he doesn't sniff a
I
national
hope I hope
championship.
he wins 4. Just to spite you, I hope he wins
He's
4.
gonna have to like he's not in good standing in Tuscaloosa. Um, I was just seeing there's a book that just came out that I'm interested in getting. It's about it has a lot. That's where the Saban stuff came out, where he almost fired his agent for convincing him to hire Kiffin. But no, that's the last bit. Let's move on to this week
Yes.
because I could keep going about Lane.
About how bad you hate Lane Kiffin. We could talk
Yeah,
about how bad we
yeah.
hate Ryan Day here in a little bit. Um, Big thing, Thursday night games. Western Carolina versus number 24 NC State. Right now, NC State is a 32.5 point favorite. I always hate the point fives. I think they're the dumbest thing in the world. Who do you got in that game and why?
It's NC State. I mean, those big lines though. This is college football. And you just saw what happened last
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
This game could I wouldn't put money on it.
Man, I think with Western Carolina, I think NC State covers. I really do. I think they score 33 for their 34 points. I think they cover for sure.
They
My
will. I
my
mean,
pick
they
my
probably will.
my pick for the game is NC State. Really, not a lot to talk about in this game. I mean, you got a team that doesn't need to be playing another team because they're getting paid to fly out and play them. That's kind of how these Week 1 games are. This is how some of these smaller Division 1 teams make their money. How they get 3 or 4 different cool uniforms and stuff like that during the year. But yeah, my pick's NC State. Next game, Kansas versus Division 1, Lindenwood out of St. Louis.
Alma mater, baby.
What in the heck is going on right now?
I'm pretty sure they had a D3 team on their schedule last year because they just made the transition and they, of course, dominated them. But can you imagine playing a Division 3 team and then playing a team in the Big 12 the very next
Especially
year?
a number 22 ranked team in Kansas. The spread is KU 45 points.
Give me KU
Um,
and the by the points.
I'm taking KU by the points. I'm taking KU money line. I'm taking KU knight in shining armor. I'm taking KU to drive to St. Charles, even though they're not playing in St. Charles after the game, and party with all the people in St. Charles, St. Louis area, and then go back to Kansas. Kansas is going to sweep the floor with Lindenwood.
Whatever's in Kansas's favor, let's just go there.
Yep, I
Say it, Lindenwood. I'd love to
I
see you.
I would love to see Lindenwood though have a really successful run in the Division One
Yeah.
level. It's going to be nice to have football in the St. Charles, St. Louis area. So with that in mind, next game, staying in Missouri, number 11 Mizzou versus Murray State. The spread is Mizzou 46.5 points. Mizzou with the big win. Man, I don't care how many points they win by. I just think Luther Burden's going to have a day.
Luther Burden's probably going to play 2 quarters of football, if we're honest.
And there's a chance he could
But
have 200 yards in those 2 quarters of football, if we're being
what
honest.
did you say the spread was?
45 points. Or excuse me, 46.5 points.
Jesus.
That's wild. I don't think Mizzou hits the spread, but I do think
No, that's a lot of points.
I think Mizzou
and I'm not huge on Mizzou as of
Yeah.
right now. But this game doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. So
it really doesn't.
on to the
Southern
next one.
next game, Southern Utah versus number 12 Utah. Welcome home, Cam. What a great way to get his feet back wet into college football, playing this Southern Utah team that they should beat pretty handedly. Utah's favorite.
How much does he play?
Uh,
Honestly,
Honestly, I think they give him 2 good quarters. If
they
that.
have. I mean, they have to.
They have to. They have to get him ready for Big 12 competition. They have to get him ready to go. So what better way to do that is get him in for 2 quarters, let him sit, let him rest, let him recover, and let him come back the next week and play. Now, if something happens, Southern Utah decides, hey, I got a wild hair, let's play really good against Utah. Man, all of our predictions are out the window because that means Southern Utah is not as bad as we thought, and that means Utah might not be as good as we think. But I don't think it's going to be that way. I mean, the spread's 38 points. I think Utah is going to have a big win in this game. Yep.
Yep.
Next game, and this one we can spend a little bit of time on. This one is on Thursday night. This one is Colorado versus North Dakota State University. North Dakota State University, if you don't know anything about them, you don't watch a lot of football outside of the Bowl Series, FBS college football. You don't watch a lot of the quote-unquote Division I single A football. You watch a lot of the Division I. You don't watch a lot of the Division I double A football. You're just so stuck in that Division One major university, major institution world, that you don't realize that North Dakota State is a perennial powerhouse. As we said last week, Matt Rule even said, "I'll play any team that Week 1 game, but do not give me a team with the Dakota in the name." Nick, the Colorado's right now a 10-point favorite in that game. What are your thoughts in this game?
Colorado has more athletically, I would say. Um, I wouldn't be totally surprised if a team like North Dakota or if the Bison can play in the trenches with them a little bit. That wouldn't shock me one bit. I think ultimately Colorado has more athleticism. I don't they probably cover. But it's week one too, so you never know. And they're playing, if you're not familiar, again, this is like the Alabama of the FCS level. Um, Actually, they probably were a little more dominant, to be honest with you, at that level.
For a while,
But
yeah.
either way, I mean, this is a tricky one. Again, going back to what we've said many times, this was a god awful decision to schedule these guys. I don't know why. Any Division One FBS program will, if you're gonna pay a team to come and play, you pay like middle of the line at absolute
Norfolk State or
best.
someone. You could just pay somebody who's not great in the FCS,
Mississippi,
but not terrible.
Missouri State, Lindenwood. You schedule a Lindenwood.
SIUC. Yeah,
I don't know. They're actually tricky. They've got a
yeah.
couple FBS wins on their belt, but
They've FBS spoiler against some really bad teams, but I think Colorado. I think they cover, but I think it's going to be a very very tight game going into the fourth quarter. I think athleticism is going to end up playing in the big favor of Colorado at the end. But I did pick Colorado to win, but like I said, it's going to be a grind. It really is, and I don't think they realize the dog that they're playing, and I don't think they realize that
that
North
is a
Dakota
well-oiled, disciplined machine, and that's
North
probably what they have over Colorado too, is just their discipline.
discipline. Yep.
You know,
North
but
Dakota State, what North Dakota State is going to do that's going to be special is they are going to come out and they are going to wake up for this is because it's a big game for them. And they've been in big game after big game after big game after big game. This is going to be a huge game for them. They're going to come in ready to play. Is Colorado going to be ready to play? I mean, look at Colorado State last year when they played them. Do they
listen,
wake up for big games?
if they were delusional enough to think that Oregon stole their practice film, something tells me that they may sleepwalk into this one.
Man,
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the worst part about, I mean, this is a lose-lose situation. They could dominate this team, and really, does it give them that much merit?
no.
No, no. It tells it.
They have all to lose and none to win winning this game,
Yeah,
except for a
that's
one on their record.
if they win this game by like 40 something points, I think my first reaction would be, damn, is North Dakota State down this year?
And not is Colorado going to go out and
Yeah,
win
I
the Big
mean,
12.
it
Yep.
does, and this isn't a Colorado thing. This is I mean, same thing with Oklahoma State. We'll talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
That I mean,
Which I think
well,
might be a trickier matchup than this one for Oklahoma State, to be honest with you. But we'll get into that here in a second. Let's jump into the next game, though, okay? North Carolina at Minnesota. They have North Carolina favored at 2 points right now. Big thing, man. Minnesota got what they were missing last year. They got a quarterback. They have Max Brosmer, I believe is his name. I don't know if I heard on a podcast the other day. Is that the one that has the country album?
hold
About
up. No, I thought they got kid from A&M.
I thought Max Brosmer was their starting quarterback. I could be making this up, but
Hold on a second. Oh, no, no. They're playing. He went to North Carolina. I'm sorry.
yeah, I was going to say
I threw that one all out. Yeah, my
you're
bad.
totally okay. You're totally okay. But
Yeah,
anyway,
because Brosmer, he won some awards at the FCS.
he did. He
Love
did. And like I said, I thought I heard on a podcast the other day he has a song about whiskey or something like that, that's like a country song or something. I don't know.
What a guy.
But honestly, this is a tight game, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to make this statement. If we would have recorded this podcast last year, you would have heard me make this statement all year long. Minnesota is going to beat North Carolina because of the fact that I truly believe North Carolina. I keep saying North Dakota. North Carolina is nothing without Drake May. They lost games last year with Drake May. They didn't look good in some games last year, but Drake May still surprised and played really well last year. I don't think North Carolina has the tools to win this game, and I think that Minnesota is actually going to beat them by multiple scores. Not multiple touchdowns, multiple scores. I think it'll be a 10-point or more game.
This is a tough one because I like this is one of those games where if you look down the list of pros and cons, it's like for every pro one team has, they have a con that matches the other, and it's just boom, 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 boom. Right now, I'm leaning towards Minnesota because of their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They are also returning their. Oh man, now I'm getting my notes mixed up.
I think they have a corner coming back this year that's really good as well.
So who's North Carolina has a lot of new pieces up front, but Minnesota has a defensive line that's coming back that's looking pretty solid. No. Maybe it's the opposite. God, see, this is what happens. I totally forgot about this one, but it's it's close. This is my point. It's like a back and forth thing with these two. I'm not entirely sure on who I want to go for.
Okay. If you had to pick a team, gun to your head, who you picking?
Oh, Minnesota. Minnesota.
All right, there we go. Next game we'll dive into. Friday night game. Temple versus number 16 Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a 42.5-point favorite. I expect Oklahoma to win, but I think that 42.5 points is a little bit of a stretch. I think Temple can play defense traditionally. Temple can play decent defense. I don't think it's going to be a huge blowout like that. I do think Oklahoma's going to win by multiple scores, at multiple touchdowns, not just multiple scores. But I don't think 42.5 points. I don't think is going to be relevant. They're going to pull starters. They're going to. I don't see that being. I don't see them covering.
Yeah, I mean this isn't an FCS program playing against Oklahoma. This is Temple. It's G5. But it's a lot of points.
Yeah.
It's a
40.
lot of points to cover. Again, it's week one. It's a lot of points. I probably wouldn't take it, but I think Oklahoma may be a little bit better than a lot of people give them credit for coming in. So,
Yeah. The loss of Dylan Gabriel is going to hurt a little bit, but I think they're going to be in a decent place this year.
well, you know what? And this is something about them that I don't think a lot of people really gave much thought into initially was hiring Brent Venables. I initially was like, I love this. I mean, this is a team at the time, it was Big 12 football
Mm-hmm.
that historically could not play defense, and that left them out of, I mean, whatever times they made the playoff, they couldn't go any further because, I mean, they didn't have, I mean, they were playing some overall well-rounded teams, but I mean, they didn't have any kind of defense, and they get Brent Venables. It started off rocky, but I mean, it's since then been on like an upwards trend. Um, I don't know. I like Brent, and I think that this team could be pretty solid.
Yeah, Oklahoma's for sure winning. I'm sure that's who you have as well. Friday's going to be fun, but Saturday is going to be incredible. Saturday is truly going to be. It's not going to be Christmas Day because Christmas Day already happened. We'll say this is going to be New Year's Eve, going into New Year's Day for the Sunday game. But, man, Saturday, let's talk about the first game. I think this is one of the games of the week right here. Clemson at number 14 versus Georgia. I think this is the toughest week one game that either Clemson or Georgia could ask for. I think this is going to be the battle of two guys that are going to be fighting for a spot in New York at the end of the season. This is a battle between two teams that could very easily set the tone for the rest of the season with a win on Saturday. UGA, I mean, they're a 13.5-point favorite. I think this game's going to be much closer than that, though. I think Clemson's going to come out to play, but I think Georgia does end up winning in a dogfight. But I think Clemson's going to come out and play this year. They can't let what happened last year happen to them again this year. What are your thoughts about that game, Nick?
Georgia is going to win this football game by 17 points. I think they're going to control the game. It may be slightly back and forth at the beginning. I just think that maybe I don't know if I have much faith. I picked Clemson to win the ACC. I think they'll figure it out, and I think within who they have to play in the ACC, they can get it done.
Yeah,
I just don't think they're on the same level as
as Georgia.
Georgia. Georgia's too complete of a football team, and there
Yeah,
are still question marks with Clemson. They don't get to get their feet wet like some of these other programs playing FCS opponents. I think Georgia probably controls this game throughout. I'm not sure I don't think Clemson probably ever has a lead on them either. I think they win. I think they win and they cover.
if we can clip anything I say, I think this game's going to be a dogfight. I think Georgia's going to win. I think this game's going to be a dogfight. Okay.
We can run it back and we can always delete the
Delete
bad
the
takes we have.
delete the evidence. Uh, Next game, I'm going to let you have the floor on this next game, Nick. We're going to go number 8 Penn State at West Virginia University. Penn State is what, an 8-point favorite going into this morning, I believe. Man, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I think Penn State wins. I think West Virginia is going to show that this game that they're going to have a big upside this season. I think West Virginia keeps this game competitive. I think, honestly, I think West Virginia's a pretty sneaky team. And they could be a very sneaky team. And if Penn State can't get their passing game going, they're going to be in a rough. It's going to be rough for them on Saturday. Nick, I'll let you have the floor. I will mute my mic and just let you riff about Penn State.
Oh, damn it. Oh, there we go. That didn't that didn't work how I hoped it would. Cut the tape.
Clearly, that was a horrible failure there, Nick. We're keeping that in. We're
I
keeping
pray to
that in.
God that is not an indication of the performance of the Nittany Lions this week. Because Jesus Christ, that was a lot cooler in my head.
So
Damn.
Nick's
Anyways,
lights didn't show up in big games, and Penn State doesn't show up in big games. So
here we go, here we go.
Drew Aller, the second coming of Christ, is he's got to play this weekend.
I'm not gonna BS you. This game freaks me out a little bit. Um, I think what very well could happen though is it's gonna freak me out. Then Penn State's gonna go in and they're gonna win the football game by a couple scores, and I'm gonna sit back, wipe the sweat off of my eyebrow, and think, all right, here's the thing. The West Virginia hype is real. I mean, me, myself, we never posted it, but we were talking Big 12 football, and they're a dark horse for me. I think they have a grind of a schedule that probably ultimately keeps them out of, any kind of contention in the conference and the ACC, but they got some dudes. Garrett Green can play some ball and he can run the football too. Last year with Penn State running heavy man coverage schemes and blitzing with Manny, that got the best of them. Tom Allen's a little different in his approach, so I'm not entirely too concerned about that. I mean, you're gonna have Abdul who's just rushing the quarterback nonstop. That's a terrifying sight. Okay, yeah, they have a good offensive line, but we have Abdul Carter. You know, I a lot of people sit here and they'll say, you know, a lot of the big time commentators were like, oh, well, West Virginia is just like Michigan, and you see what Michigan, did to Penn State last year. Well, I have two things to say about that. One, they're not Michigan. Okay. Michigan won a national title. They had probably the best running back tandem in college football. Their offensive line was all old. They were beasts. Their defense was the best in the country. This was a national championship contending team. So, one, West Virginia is not on the same level as Michigan. Two, Penn State in that game against Michigan, if we run the tape back, Michigan ran the ball and ended the game, right? But how often was that Penn State defense on the football field because 3 and outs throughout the whole entire game? We're stagnant on offense. So, of course, you're going to get tired. I mean, you're facing the best offensive line and the best two running backs in the country, and your offense is going 3 and out. I don't care how good you are going to be worn down. Okay. So, that being said, that was last year, anyways. This is a new year. I don't think. I mean, they return production. I think they're like 75 in returning production. Penn State's like 69 in returning production. It's not like it's far off. These teams are pretty much the same if you break it down from last year to this year. One of the big concerns for people are the coordinators. On the defensive side, Penn State is they're elite. And Tom Allen, maybe he gets a bad rap if you're not too deep into college football because he was, at Indiana, but he knows football. He knows defensive football, and he has a way of getting these guys to just completely buy in. They love him. No matter that's what you hear about the guy or everywhere he goes. I'm not worried about the defense at all. Offensively, maybe it's maybe it's a little biased. You call it what you want it, but I like Andy Kalnicki. I think one, I don't think it could get worse than last year. Two, I'm really big on this guy. When he was able to do more with less throughout his time at KU, I mean, you think Penn State, even with Yursich last year, they're scoring 30 something points a game outside of Michigan and Ohio State. So now you have these same pieces back. This is supposed to be that prime Penn State year. I'm not really worried. I think the offense is going to have a spark. Um, that being said, it's a scary environment. I mean, it's week one, it's an early game, it's at West Virginia. The hype is real. I'm not entirely sure that they cover, but I mean, it's going to be a dogfight. It's one of my games of the week. It is going to be, if you like a physical brand of football, you need to tune into this football game.
Last thing I will add to that, last year I do believe Aller started off slow in the passing game against West Virginia, and he ended up lighting it up towards the end of the game, if I can remember correctly.
No,
He
he
ended
so
up
he opened the game with a bomb to KLS, and then I mean that was his best passing
it was.
performance.
What I was getting at though is that he did play well last year against West Virginia, but again, that was last year. My big thing is, can Penn State put it together in the passing game? And I think that if they can put it together in the passing game against West Virginia, they're going to have a lot of success this year offensively, and I think their passing game is what kind of lacked for them a little bit last year, which you can agree on that as well. I think they have the
Yeah,
best
they didn't
running
have
backs.
enough. I mean,
There's no question that they have some of the best running backs in the country. There's no question. It is, can you get your 5-star stud that's supposed to come in here and is supposed to shake up the whole entire Penn State identity, and that's supposed to come in here and move on from the old Penn State mobile quarterback era and throw the ball and air the ball out. If you can get Drew Aller to play the way he is supposed to play this season, that's a guy that we could be talking about at the end of the season that'll be in Heisman talks.
you're gonna see, and this may shock you, but you're gonna see Drew Aller run the football a little bit more than you'd think this year.
I think
And
I think they put in Bo a lot more this year. I think they put Bo
oh,
in a
they're
lot
gonna
of.
they're gonna and this is what I'm so excited about with Kyle Nicky is he's able to scheme guys open simply just from the X's and O perspective, and he gets the most out of all of his pieces. I think he sees a guy like
He look how fun he was in
Bo
Kansas when,
Perbula.
when he was coaching in Kansas, man. It was so fun watching some of the unique packages that they came out in, some of the unique motions that they used, some of the motions and the movements that they had at the quarterback position. Excuse me, some of the run plays that they had at the quarterback position. Man, I'm excited to watch it. I don't think they run Aller as much as you think. I think they run him a little bit more, but I think they'll have a special package for Bo.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Penn State. I could be depressed and cancel this whole podcast after week one, um, depending on results. But I'm gonna take Penn State. I think they're a better team than they were last year.
And I'm taking Penn State too. I do think I'm going back and forth. I don't know if they cover, but I'm starting to kind of feel that they might cover. I think 8 points is a small enough. 8 points is
That's
small
tight.
enough that it's that if this game is like super super tight, it's a dogfight. 3 points or whatever. But I don't think it's going to be necessarily that tight of a game. I don't think 8 points is that much. I would bet 8 points, honestly, in Penn State's favor. Next game we'll talk about is Illinois State versus number 25, Iowa. Iowa is a 22.5-point favorite. Nick, I am anxious to see Tim Lester as the offensive coordinator of Iowa. If Iowa can at least play offense the smidgen amount, Iowa will cover. But I'm kind of anxious to see if Iowa can cover here against Illinois State. I think
Do,
it's crazy you have a number 25 ranked team versus an FCS school, and 22 and a half points is the spread. I I
you
was
know what
going
the
to
under
win.
over is set at?
I was going to win, but man, gosh,
Do you
22
want
and
to
a half
know?
points.
Do you know what the under over is set at?
What was that?
Take a wild guess. What do you think?
I would say like 36 or 37.
40.5.
Holy cow. And that is
Well, did you? I don't know if you saw much on the I don't know if you've seen anything about Iowa throughout the offseason, but there were some quarterback controversy where Cade McNamara was not playing well. So I don't know if they're entirely set on who QB1 is.
yeah.
I'm sorry to Coy here, college quarterback.
Sorry, Coy.
Coy, if you're watching this,
Iowa.
this is my one of my toilet bowl games of the week.
Whoa. It could be boring. Let's
Well,
just
this is
hope.
this is what it is. I think it's that way because it's comical. What's going to happen is Iowa's defense is going to be disgustingly dominant. They are going to be asleep stopping this Illinois State offense. They're probably going to score a defensive touchdown, maybe two, and maybe that's what makes them cover.
That's wild to think about.
But it's
Man.
going to be some awful offense until I'm proven otherwise. But you're right. If they can play even a slight bit of offense,
hmm I
I
think that
think that they can. I think that they can beat a USC. I think they could be like right there on that, pushing that 3-4 spot in the Big Ten. But until I can see points scored, and until these Vegas odds aren't 40.5 points under over against an FCS opponent and a mid FCS opponent at that, I'm not buying the stock yet.
I have Iowa winning. I don't have them covering the spread. Just being honest. I have Iowa winning. I think it's going to be a boring 21 to nothing football game. 21-7 football game. I think it's going to be boring. And I
They're
think
not. I don't think they're going to give up a point. They may give up a field goal. The only way they give up a point is if their offense turns the ball over in the red zone. That's it. Otherwise, the defense is too good, and they're going to be ridiculous.
I think it's going to be a boring game. I'm going to watch it because I have to, but I think it's going to be a boring game. Next game on the docket we'll talk about is Chattanooga at number 15 Tennessee. I'm not going to go on a long-winded rant about why Tennessee is so great and why Tennessee is going to cover this 38.5-point spread and why Tennessee is going to be in the contention and in the talk for the national championship. And I'm getting closer to the microphone so I can tell you that Tennessee is going to win this game. No, but honestly, I think that the combination of Nico and that wide receiver room, I think they have so many weapons on offense. I think, James Pierce Jr., I think he's going to come out and he's just going to have a field day on Chattanooga. I think Tennessee's going to win. I think they're going to cover. I don't think they're going to cover by a lot, but I do think they're going to cover. But I think a lot of points are going to be scored on the Tennessee side of things. I also want to say this one last time. We have the number one edge rusher in the country. He's better than Abdul Carter. With that in mind, I think Tennessee's going to be pretty dominant on both sides of the ball. I think Tennessee's going to really set the precedence of who they're going to be for the season in this Week 1 game, and their abilities in this Week 1 game. And I know Chattanooga's not much or anything like that, but, man, I think Nico is going to have a field day running and passing the ball.
I got nothing on that one. I mean, the writing's on the wall. It's pretty clear what's going to happen.
Next game we got is San Diego State University at Oklahoma State. And we were getting into this. I actually have this as a game of the week to watch as well.
You said San Diego State.
All right, South Dakota State.
South Dakota State.
Man, it has been a rough week, guys. South Dakota State versus Oklahoma State. South Dakota State versus Oklahoma State is a very intriguing matchup to me. Actually, Oklahoma State is only a 9.5-point favorite as of this morning, which I think is insane to think about. But you are talking about the true Georgia or Michigan of FCS playing number
like
17
the present day
State.
current.
Present day current. You're talking about the reigning defending champion. I believe the last 2 years. In
Another
FCS.
stupid
booking.
schedule.
But I think this game's going to be close. I think it's going to be much closer than what we think. I think 9.5 points is a great line to set right there. I think Oklahoma State wins, but I think it's going to be just like the Colorado versus North Dakota State game. I think that, I think Oklahoma State is going to have a gritty game ahead of them. I don't know about you, Nick, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
No, yeah, I mean, none of these teams are going to lay over, and not only that, like it's not that they're just going to put in their best effort. I mean, these are actually good football teams. Yes, it is a different level, but I'm not. I mean, you're bigger on Oklahoma State than I am. I don't necessarily think Oklahoma State is a quarterback. I think Ali probably carries the load, as he will in most games this year.
He will pretty much all season long, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it really depends. I mean, if they can't throw the football, if you're one-dimensional, even against one of these top FCS football programs, you're not guaranteed a single thing,
Yeah. Next game we'll talk about. We can go quickly through this one because neither of us really care about this game. It's Akron at number 2 Ohio State. I just want to start this by saying I hate
Akron by 30.
I hate Ryan Day. I just want to start it with I really hate Ryan Day, and we'll go back to the Just for Men, the kiwi black shoe polish hair color that he has on his beard, the beet red face, the beady little eyes, the Little League dad, the Satan, the evilest man in the world for making fun of Lou Holtz and being evil to Lou Holtz. Like, why, of all people, the sweetest, nicest?
Is he? Hold on. Is he the Antichrist of this Church of the Saturday Sermon?
Literally, I think he is Saturday Sermon.
I mean, somebody's got to be.
Nick, I will say this: not the Antichrist, not the Antichrist. The Saturday Sermon, we have one holy one, and that's college football. And so the holy one has his rival, which is the devil, which is Satan, which is the biggest cretin ever. And that cretin here on the Saturday Sermon is one man, and that is Ryan Day. Just apologize. Just shut up. I just change your face, change your demeanor, change everything. I'm not the prettiest guy in the world, but man, I don't have to dye my beard. I don't have to act like a jackass. Ryan Day, listen, I don't care about your game. I don't care about your season. And yes, I do have you picked going far this year. I don't care about all that. As long as you're in charge, I don't care about Ohio State. And I used to like Ohio State until you made that comment about poor old Lou Holtz. Come on, man, you got to do better. I hate you. I hate your face. I dislike you. This is not hate speech. This is not hate speech, YouTube. I'm sorry. This is not hate speech. But I'm just saying, I just don't like you. Come on, man. We don't care about your game. Akron's going to lose. Ohio State's a 48.5 point favorite. Ohio State's probably going to cover. I'm probably going to have it on the smallest TV in my house, potentially my computer, potentially my phone. Might even grab JoJo's cell phone. My 1-year-old son, he doesn't even have a cell phone. He's got this little Fisher Price thing. Might try to watch it on that. I don't really care about this game, Nick. I don't know about you, but I'm going to watch it because it's football. I don't care about this game, and I don't care about Ohio State, and I don't care about you, Ryan Day.
Well said.
Sorry, that was a little hard. It's been a rough week.
I
No, let me get this out. This wasn't hate speech on Ryan Day. Ryan Day, I'm sure you're a great guy. I'm sure you have a great family. I'm sure you're living your life really well. YouTube, please do not take this video down over Ryan Day because he's someone that probably would tell on us if he ever heard that. So,
we're never gonna get Ohio State fans to listen in on our show.
not even our best friend.
Speaking of which, I'm going. We haven't talked about it yet. I mean, last week we were talking about it. Might go watch a couple games, have some garage beers at Brandon's. So I'm sure I'm probably gonna have to watch that game, um, for a little bit. What time is that one even start?
Oh, you're going this weekend?
I might. I'm not sure yet.
We'll talk a little bit
Um,
more about that. But I don't have the start time of that game. I just know I don't care about it. So,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
next
Anyways,
game, do you have Ohio State winning? Truthfully, do you have them covering the 48.5 point spread?
yeah, probably.
Yeah, me
Or
too.
whatever.
Whatever.
Next
Ryan Day, I'm
next
sure
week.
you're a sweetheart, but piss off. Colorado State at Texas, number 4 Texas. I'm going to say this right now. We will have our first Arch Manning sighting of the season this game. I bet he plays the entire second half. They are a 32-point favorite against Colorado State. I bet it's going to be where the wheels start turning, where the ball starts rolling. Sorry, Jeff, I know you got upset about it last week, but this is where you're going to start to see the boosters come out and say, we want Arch. They don't care about Quinn. I don't think they care about Quinn. I really do not think they care about Quinn. I think
I
that they
think
want
Sark.
Arch in.
I think
Sark,
Sark is a pretty
Sark,
smart
yes,
guy.
yes.
I don't think Arch is probably going to play two halves of football because if anything that you're alluding to is the case, you, you don't know something that Sark doesn't. So he'll get in, he'll play, but
He'll play, but he'll also play. I think he'll play the whole second half. I think Quinn will play the whole first half, and I think you'll have Arch getting in, and he'll play the whole second half. And I think Arch will play really well. Playing Colorado State, why wouldn't you play well? Even though they were gritty a little bit at times last year, especially against Colorado. Let's mention that again. But I think you're going to see Arch
yeah,
play.
they must be a really good team if they went to overtime with Colorado, right?
Yeah, I mean, Oregon had to cheat to do it. So, no,
Yeah.
I do think Texas wins this game. I do think Texas wins this game big. I don't think they hit 32 points, over 32-point favorite. I don't think they cover that spread. But I think you're going to see Arch playing a lot in the second half, and I think that's where a lot of Twitter people are going to be, or excuse me, ex people are going to be saying, hey, why isn't Arch starting? Arch is our guy. Arch is our guy. And it's all going to start. The reason why I don't have Texas in the college football playoffs, the reason why I want Texas to be in, but I don't think they're going to be in, I think the Arch train is going to start this week.
What did you say the spread was?
32.
And who's? No, they're. I don't know, man. I could see them covering.
They are in Texas, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, so you got Texas winning. You got them covering. I don't. Next game, another game to watch this week. Number 19, Miami at Florida. Miami is only a 2.5-point favorite when I type this up. With that in mind, what happened to Florida State could actually be what happens to Miami this week. I think that this could be another big loss by the ACC. I have Florida winning this one, and I have Cam Ward being the most flustered quarterback on the field. I have him having a meltdown in the second half of the game. I have Cam Ward struggling really bad in this game, and I have Florida winning.
I don't know the dynamic and the details of how it's going and it's going to happen. My pick could change very easily from right now until we get off of this thing. I am kind of leaning in the same boat as you. I think the swamp is a tough place to play.
Very tough.
I don't think Florida gets enough credit all things considered. I mean, they got good players. They can play ball. Not everything is always just went together great for them last year. I mean, they got sorry, but pretty big dub against a pretty good Tennessee football team last year. Um, and you have, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I trust Cam Ward,
Cameron, yeah, forgot Cameron Ward.
Cameron Ward. I don't know if I trust Cameron Ward to be the guy that brings the U back.
Couldn't have said it better
And
myself.
if he does, I'm not sure it's this week.
Yeah, I think Florida wins. I think Florida is going to win that game. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch for Florida fans. I think that Miami fans are going to be very disappointed in their team that Week 1 game. Next game we'll talk about, and we'll briefly glance over this one, Western Kentucky at Alabama. Number 5 Alabama is favored by 31.5 points, which is actually kind of surprising. Western Kentucky isn't a horrible, horrible football team, but I don't think that 31.5 points with some of these lines that we've seen earlier is doing Alabama any justice. I don't know if that has anything to do with a new head coach or a new system or some of the key transfers they lost this year. But I do think, with no question, Alabama wins this game.
The tight ain't going nowhere. I
No.
mean, we've talked about it. Um, tight ain't going nowhere.
Next game, we won't spend too much time on this one either. Furman at number 6, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 42-point favorite. Not only do I expect him to cover, I expect the portal guys on defense to really show up in this game. I think Ole Miss is going to do a really good job at this game, showing and starting the season off that showing that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the SEC against poor little Furman. With that in mind, I think Jackson Dart is going to have a hell of a first half of the game. I think the team is just going to fire on all cylinders. I am only afraid of one thing coming out of this game is that Lane Kiffin's head is going to get bigger than it already is, although I do like you, Lane Kiffin.
That
And
I don't know if that's really possible,
yeah,
but
it's like an airhead, and I love it too. He's a sweetheart of a guy. I love him. He's a hero. American hero. Heir apparent to Nick Saban. That was a joke we had before we started earlier. But I do think Ole Miss is going to come out firing, and this could potentially be a game that inflates their head, and they could get hung over off of this game.
not so fast. This is a game of the week for me. No, I'm just kidding, dude. Ole Miss is gonna win by a million points. I don't think it's gonna inflate their head. I mean, it's Furman, dude. They're playing like I don't know if Furman's like D2 or D3 or no, dude. They're playing an FCS opponent. This game doesn't mean a single thing.
I think Jackson Dart's going to have a great start to his season, though. Next game, we'll talk about UT Martin at number 18, K-State. K-State is favored by 37 points. I'm not spending much time on this one. K-State.
I don't gotta say anything. You know where I'm thinking.
I do too. Next game, Idaho at number 3, Oregon. Nick, once again, I'm not spending too much time on this game. One thing I did say at the beginning before we started is Oregon's a 43.5-point favorite. The over-under set at 62.5 points. Don't be surprised if Oregon not only gets the over 43.5 points, but Oregon alone covers the over and under at 62.5 points. I think this is going to be a bloodbath. I think Oregon has 2 really good quarterbacks, and I think
Well, that's what I was gonna say. This. I just
it's
feel
not
bad
fair.
for. It's like
It's not fair to Idaho.
here's your first serving of steak. Here's your second serving of steak. Like what?
Now
You're gonna have a
let's
third
throw
string
our
quarterback.
third string lobster at you here. Who's going to be the
Yeah,
future after Moore's gone? Like it just
that sucks, dude.
this is
That
not fair.
sucks.
I mean, God, Oregon's gonna. I really do think Oregon can score 65 points in this game.
I mean, they can, they won't,
Clip it.
but
It's gonna happen. This is getting clipped.
65.
65. So next game we'll talk about. Nick, do you have them covering the over?
Yeah, dude, probably. I mean, I don't. I probably won't really watch much of this one.
43.5 points. You think that Oregon 43.5 point lead?
Probably. I think a third string. I think I'd bet on a third string quarterback getting reps.
Next game we'll talk about, and this one is actually one of my ones to watch as well. Nick, God bless. This isn't getting talked about as much as it should. Number 7 Notre Dame at number 20 Texas A&M, and the fact that we have Riley Leonard versus Mike Elko.
That is a hell of a story.
Did you think about that before I
And
just said it?
yeah, I did. It crossed my mind when I was just overseeing some of these games last week. That's this is the world of the transfer portal.
It
I
is.
mean, and coaches have been doing this forever. They they're always gonna jump on the next big job. But yeah, I mean, this is interesting. That being said, I think I'm taking the Aggies.
Nick, would you like to hear a fun fact about today?
Sure.
Fun fact about today. Notre Dame's ranked way too damn high right now after
Imagine
last
that.
season. Notre Dame is ranked way too high right now. And I think that could be because they play mostly an ACC schedule. I am taking Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 3-point favorite. I'm taking them to win by 10 points, 14 points. I think that Connor Weigman and Jade, their wide
That
receiver,
kid can play some ball.
I think they're going to have a hell of a day. I think they're going to have a massive day. I think that Notre Dame picked a stupid week 1 game to play to schedule, and I think Mike Elko knows Riley Leonard better than Riley Leonard knows himself. They're ready for him. They know what he is. They know who he is. They know the great player that he is. I think Mike Elko's kind of hurt as well that Riley didn't decide to transfer to Texas A&M.
You know what? I'm not sure because Connor Wigman, they're, I think he probably considered it, but his starting job probably wasn't
Yeah,
a lock.
yeah.
And I mean, I think Riley Leonard's really good, but I mean, before he got hurt last year, Connor Wigman was a dude. You
Yeah.
know, he did. I know he didn't play. I don't even. I think he played one like quality
Well, and before Riley
opponent.
Leonard got hurt last year, he was a dude as well. Um,
True, true.
yeah, I think, like I said, I think Mike Elko just knows Riley like the back of his hand, and I think that they're going to have something whipped up for him, knowing him. You got to think Elko spent a lot of time with that kid.
Oh, for sure. I think Notre Dame, they are the Dallas Cowboys of the NCAA. They're always overhyped and they always disappoint. Is there a
Transfer
better comparison? I mean,
transfer quarterback, highly touted transfer quarterback coming from the ACC. Doesn't that sound like the Sam Hartman season all over again?
yeah. Yeah.
Which was fun until it
Yeah,
wasn't.
oh yeah. I mean, so I liked Sam Hartman. I was kind of
I did
pulling a
too.
little bit for them in a lot of, a lot of games.
That Ohio State
But
game, most importantly.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
and they're right there.
yeah. I think. I
I
think.
think they're
Go
And
ahead.
I think Texas A&M, I mean, we've talked about this several times. I think they are a potential sleeping giant. I mean, even with Jimbo, whatever he was smoking out there that made them not win, their recruiting classes were ridiculous. That whole time that they were losing, they had that would have been some of the most frustrating football to watch as a Texas A&M fan, knowing what they had on that roster and not being able to win. How Jimbo went from being a national championship winning coach to whatever happened in Texas A&M. I'm not there, so I can't answer to it, but
No.
you got a good football coach.
Yep.
But I mean, I guess we thought Jimbo was a good football coach too, so maybe there's some internal stuff
Elko's a
at
little bit
A&M.
different, though. Elko's a little bit of a different breed. I think Elko's going to do a really good job. I think Texas A&M finally got the guy that they wanted.
Yeah, I it's gonna be a good football game. That's one of my that's the
Agree.
first. There's 3 games that I wrote down for my game of the week that I'm most excited to watch, and that was the first one I wrote down. I think this could be Texas A&M's coming out party, and this game alone can skyrocket their season and their upside. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, this is just as important to Notre Dame too. I mean,
it is.
Notre Dame can't afford to be losing football games.
Anybody else that's the top of their conference can afford to lose a game and make it to that conference championship game and still find themselves in the playoffs. Notre Dame.
This is a game that Notre Dame has. This is a playoff game, in my opinion.
Get
Notre
in the
Dame.
conference. Get in the conference, Notre Dame.
Yep.
Get in the conference.
Cowards. Cowards.
Cowards. Cowards. Next game we'll talk about, but I agree. I think Texas A&M wins that game. I think they cover. They're a 3-point favorite. I think they cover. Um, Fresno at Michigan, number 9 Michigan. Man, Michigan's a 20.5 or 20.5 point favorite. I see this game. I see Michigan winning this game. Don't get me wrong, but I see Fresno scaring some people early on. I think Michigan has had a hell of an offseason with all the stuff going on, with all the drama going on. I think Michigan, this documentary came out at a perfect time about Connor Stallions.
Love to see it. Love to
I,
see it.
I think that Fresno puts up a little bit of a fight early on, but I think Donovan Edwards is going to take this game completely over. I'm not sure if 20.5 points is going to be, covered. If I had to put money on it, which I probably will, I probably would bet the over.
Yeah.
But gun
Are
my
the points? Yeah.
the points, yeah. But I just
yeah, I
the
would.
point spread, not the over. But man, I just don't know who Michigan is right now. I just don't know, and this is one of those teams I really want to watch play in Week 1. They could shut me up. Michigan could come out here, and I have Michigan in the playoffs. Michigan could come out and shut me up, but I think too much crap has went on this offseason leading up to this game, and I think it's just their image is ruined. They don't have Harbaugh anymore. Isn't Sharon Moore, isn't he suspended as well?
I don't know, dude. I don't
just,
even.
Regardless, there's just been so much stuff going on that I don't think Michigan starts off as hot as what people think they are, or what people
I
think
don't
they
think
will.
many people really are expecting it. I mean, granted, they're playing Fresno State, so yeah, a lot of people are probably thinking, you know,
Well, for the sake of this, for the sake of the clip, I have Michigan winning. I don't have them covering.
I think they're going to cover. I think that it's going to be a situation kind of how it was with Iowa, at least from the defensive standpoint, where Michigan's defense is going to never. Fresno State is never going to pose a threat to their defense. Um, it's going to be an intriguing game. I think it's a testament to like just seeing how the course of their season goes. It'll be a testament to their character and to the kind of coach Moore is. Um, and I'm really just curious. I mean, my biggest question mark, obviously, quarterback, and that offensive line, you know?
Yeah.
So I could see Orgy starting off slow, and that is what makes the game tight early on. But I mean, I think they'll cover.
Next game, we'll talk about New Mexico at 21 Arizona. Arizona is a 31-point favorite. I see them covering. I see them beating the brakes off of New Mexico. If last weekend was anything to show about New Mexico, I think that Arizona is going to just manhandle them this weekend.
No reason they should. No reason they shouldn't.
None at all. None at all. I'm not even spending any time talking about this game.
On to the next one.
Sunday. Sunday.
One of my games of the week.
23 USC at 13 LSU. LSU is a 4-point favorite. Nick, I want to make this point real quick to you. Nick, this is going to be the battle between two quarterbacks that can show that they're a stud or they're a dud this game. This is two young quarterbacks that can either really ramp their career up and have a lot of success, or can show that they're not as good as what they're going to be, and their team's going to fall apart the rest of the season. I think this is going to be a tight, down-to-the-wire matchup. Miller Moss versus Garrett Nussmeier, if I believe that's how you pronounce it. One thing to note, USC has had pretty much a revamped defense, and LSU didn't make too many moves on that horrendous defense that they had last year. I think LSU might struggle in this game, and I think the style of play that this game is going to be a quarterback battle, I think that USC can get it done and make the win, or get the win. I do say that LSU probably has the best player on the field with Harold Perkins rushing the edge, but I think that this style of game that this will be, I think a lot of points will be scored, and I think USC will end up pulling it out. Nick, what about you?
We are actually again, this is one that I'm going back and forth on. I haven't marked it in our picks because I'm not sure. But I mean, we're kind of in agreement here. These two teams to me are one and the same. I mean, if you think about it, last year both of them could have been contenders if they could play defense,
Yeah.
but
What a waste
they
for Jaden
couldn't.
Daniels.
I
What
mean, I
What a
mean,
waste for Jaden Daniels, man.
you have two generational talents playing quarterback for at the collegiate level, and I mean they had weapons across the board. I think both teams have potential Heisman dark horse
Yeah.
capabilities. I
You,
really do. I
I mean,
think
you have
these
two
guys.
quarterbacks, like I said, that are playing to be studs or duds. And what I mean by studs, award nominee quarterbacks, and then duds that they could just be the steaming shits at the end of the season.
I am right now. I am actually leaning. No, I don't. I'm not even gonna say. I'm not even gonna say I'm leaning Ellis or leaning USC. I think the I mean, both teams, the same. It's the same situation. You have question marks with the defense. I kind of think Miller Moss has a little more upside, personally. That's where I maybe give them the nod. But then again, in the SEC, you typically have, I think, better talent across the board. Or LSU compared to USC. Now,
Yep.
but let me ask you this: who would you rather your head coach, Lincoln Riley or Brian Kelly?
You know my answer to that already. I'm a huge Lincoln Riley fan. I
See, I
love
think
Lincoln
because I
Riley.
think we disagree. I think we
I love his
disagree here.
style of play. I think that Brian Kelly is always going to be a bridesmaid in everything that he does. I don't think Brian Kelly's ever going to find success in the way that he once had, way that he once had anywhere else other than Notre Dame. I actually wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of years you see him right back at Notre Dame.
Remind me, what exactly has Lincoln Riley done to not be the bridesmaid? Sure, you can say he made the playoff, but he was playing in the Big 12 when Texas wasn't good.
Man, now I'm eating my words. But I just think that I think Brian Kelly's move to LSU wasn't a smart move. I think Lincoln Riley's move to USC was a smart move. I think if these guys stay on the same trajectories that they're on now, I think you're going to see Lincoln Riley winning more than Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly needs to figure this defense out, and I think Lincoln Riley's doing everything he can too. If you look at the
How many years was it going to take Lincoln to do
yeah, well,
that?
finally had to fire Alex Grinch. The thing about it
I
too is
mean, he
that
has. I think, and we've said this before. Lincoln Riley has been negligent to the defensive side of the football.
yeah,
That man would win football games 80 to 79 every week if he could.
I
That is negligence.
but
You
what I
cannot you cannot win at the highest level of football if you don't play defense.
yeah, I agree. I agree. You could in the Pac-12 though. Um,
Okay, but
but they're no
in the
longer
grand
in the
scheme,
Pac. They're no longer in the Pac-12, and I think that's why they brought in. I think they have what 7 new starters on defense from other schools. Now at USC, like
well,
they're
you know how
I
I feel about the transfer thing. I don't think it translates as the transfers. Year two is when I think you see the biggest jump in transfers.
yeah,
You cannot build your roster off of transfers. Um, and that's going to be their. I think their defense is still their Achilles. If they can, again, they're like Iowa. If they could play, except for opposite, if they could play a hint of defense, they're a threat to most people in their conference. But I have to see it to believe it.
I'm taking USC.
And
I'm taking USC.
seeing that this was a couple weeks ago, but seeing that Lincoln Riley,
Brisket.
you're a barbecue guy. You're a barbecue guy.
Oh
You take
man,
pride in your brisket.
that
You saw that
was
brisket? That
that brisket was drier than pork
the
rinds.
Sahara Desert.
That was the driest brisket I have ever seen in my
That is
life.
the
There
most
was
that is the most Southern California brisket I've ever seen in my life.
Southern California. That's probably like a inner city Canada brisket, like someone grilling off of a balcony in Canada in Toronto. Like that was disgusting. That was ugly. That destroyed my
Point being,
love. But
you're coming to the Midwest.
you got to learn how to cook
You
brisket.
gotta come correct with the brisket. And if your brisket's looking like that, I seriously have doubts about your success in the Big Ten. All
Hey,
I gotta say.
hey, Joe here, Lincoln Riley. I love you. You're a handsome fella. You got a lot to look forward to. Take some barbecue lessons, please. That's all I'm asking. Take some barbecue lessons. Learn how to slow smoke a brisket. If you need to inject, learn how to inject. But when you squeeze your brisket together and you take the picture, you take the money picture. I'm not going to say the other one. You take the money picture, and your brisket has no juice in it. You really messed up. You
That
really
shit
messed
looks
up. That looked
like
horrible.
drywall.
Yes, but yeah, I have USC winning. Nick, you're going back and forth.
I'm on the fence, but I want the Big Ten to beat the SEC, so let's run at USC. I don't really consider you entirely a Big Ten school yet. I haven't fully embraced it, but you got that Big Ten on your jersey. Get the dub.
All
I'm
right,
taking USC.
all right. Well, you heard it here. We're in games to watch this week. We're going to finish up with that in the Toilet Bowl game of the week. Guys, there needs to be some clarification on Toilet Bowl game of the week. It can go either way. It can be a game that we think is going to be absolutely awful that no one wants to watch, but in a lot of senses, it could be a great game by two bad teams that could be just so bad that it's entertaining. So, starting off with games to watch, mine are Notre Dame versus A&M, North Dakota State at Colorado, South Dakota State at Oklahoma State, and finally USC at LSU. Nick, what are your games of the week?
Oh, I thought you just said those are your toilet bowl games of the week.
No, no, no. I said those are my games of the week, and then I said, yeah.
Sure.
Starting
Games
with
of
my
the week.
games of the week. Yep, I have Notre Dame A&M, North Dakota State at Colorado, South Dakota State at Oklahoma State, and USC at LSU.
Games of the week. Nittany Lions versus West Virginia. Now I got it.
We're gonna have to put a warning on this video.
Oh, epilepsy. Sorry. Um, that's the first game. Then I got Notre Dame and A&M, and lastly, it's USC versus LSU.
Nice, nice. And your toilet bowl game of the week. And is it because it is a raging dumpster fire of a game that is going to be just so
Oh,
boring that no one wants to watch?
I think it's comical. I think it's comical and it's entertaining in that regard. There's going to be some excellent punning. Um, but okay, I do have one that meets your criteria of two bad teams that may put on a good game, and that's Eastern Michigan versus UMass. UMass is -2.5. Might be a fun one to watch.
And then what's your comically bad game? You said Iowa versus
All right,
Illinois
told you
State.
Iowa, Illinois State. Yeah.
All right, my
Sorry,
toilet
Mr. Coy
bowl.
Dorothy.
Sorry, Coy, Iowa. My toilet bowl games of the week. Number one is Miami, Ohio versus Northwestern. This is two programs that honestly people have zero investment in that are watching on Saturday. I mean, you're gonna have some people that want to watch it or whatever, but
Where's
man,
it? Where's it at?
I believe it's at Northwestern, and I believe that's why
So it's on the
Northwestern's
riverfront. I may
favorite.
turn
Yeah,
the game on solely to see that, and then like, cool.
yeah,
But
but I think Miami of Ohio versus Northwestern. It's gonna be a fun game, but it's gonna be a fun game between two teams that really shouldn't. We don't want to really watch play. I don't be surprised if Miami Ohio wins. They are a 3-point favorite, and with the spread, I just don't. Like I said, or excuse me, Northwestern's a 3-point favorite, but
I
don't be
was gonna
surprised.
say
Yeah, so don't be surprised if Miami of Ohio wins. My last game is Sacramento versus San Jose State. San Jose State's a 3.5-point favorite. This could be fun. This could be a fun
I see
game.
some points.
Could be a fun game. So, Nick, you got any closing remarks, closing thoughts?
No, man. I mean, it's more back than ever.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
I'm a little scared for the Penn State game. If the college football season, week one, 11 o'clock, goes south and ruins it all for me, you're going to be doing this yourself. So let's just hope for the best on that front. But no, on a side note, man, I'm geeked.
Same here. Super excited for week one. But again, guys, I was super excited and all of this for this pod or for this college football show podcast ordeal that we're doing. Sorry that fumbling over a little bit of words and stuff tonight and all that. It's been a rough week, as I mentioned earlier. I'll be a little bit more crisper and cleaner for you guys next week. But guys, I'm super excited for this week of college football. I'm hoping to be able to watch it at home. I'm hoping to be able to really tune in and get the full college football experience this week. My final closing remark is, man, it was fun. This was a fun episode. I had a blast, man. Saturday church service is going to be in session, guys. It's going to be a great day. Us at the Saturday Sermon, thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. We thank you for listening. We look forward to talking to you guys again next week. Have a blessed one. Have a great week,
Wait,
guys.
wait, 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 wait,
Oh,
wait, 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 wait. Corrected my mistake from earlier. Minnesota has a defense. They got a quarterback that can be pretty good. I'm taking the Gophers, baby.
all right. There it is. You heard it here first, guys. This is the Saturday Sermon. Remember to keep football holy. Talk to you guys later.